Greetings, Troma fans, and welcome to Troma After Dark. I'm Flesh Wound Dan, joined today by producer Todd.
Greetings. How are you, Dan?
I am doing well. You picked two very, very obscure Troma flicks today to review. So yeah, probably ones that nobody's ever heard of.
Well, we haven't done a Troma After Dark in a while, not since I believe it was Ellie and I can't remember the other one we did, but it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, some Southern fried sex comedies, I believe.
yes, that was our last one. We did all three, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did a couple shows. You can go back and check all of those out. Once again, hope you guys have been enjoying the Troma 365. Everybody is like, they're not going to find 365 Troma movies. But we're almost at 100. We're almost at 100. So
I may have had to expand the Troma section a little bit, but
yeah, yes, to have it all in hand, absolutely. But yeah. There's well more than that. In fact, I feel like after we're done, it's going to be like, oh shit, we didn't do this, this, and this. There's a lot more than 365.
Well, like I've already kind of said, there's a few titles that are probably not going to make the cut for the 365 on their titles and themes alone. So there may be a picture talking about those last few I couldn't cover. One, if I even attempt to say the name, it'll give Dan a panic attack.
When there are slurs in your title, that becomes very difficult to pull off. So yes, but yeah, no, we're glad you guys have been enjoying that, because if nothing else, hopefully showing that Troma isn't just one thing. There's all kinds of Troma out there, from the pickups to the in-house to cross genres. It's not all just that one specific thing that I think a lot of you have in your head.
And sometimes they're cross genres in one film, which we'll talk about tonight.
Yes. And I should say, just because it's a Troma 365 doesn't necessarily mean we recommend it, but we're highlighting it. So
yes.
So there you go.
Sometimes we'll tell you that. Sometimes you'll find out on your own.
Yes, you may find out on your own. But that's all the fun. Troma Now, you can watch a lot of these, not all of them. Somebody needs to locate Giuseppe Andrews ASAP, which I think you'll be seeing some of that on the channel at some point, or Patreon, if nothing else.
Yeah.
But today we have two. Well, you said genre blending, but two sex comedies. They definitely both fall under that. That banner.
At least they start there, but
they start there, and yeah, we'll get into that because the second one's very unique. But our first film from legendary writer-director Gary Graber, we've talked about a lot on this channel, Vegas High Stakes. There you go. So in this film, two Vegas strippers witness two gangsters murder one of their boyfriends in the parking lot at the end of their shift. The gangsters want to silence them, so they flee town with the gangsters in chase through the back roads of Nevada. Okay, so Vegas High Stakes.
Also released as Lust and Desire in Vegas High Stakes, obviously playing off of Fear and Desire in Las Vegas.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yes, thank you. I combined. Yes. There we go.
Yes, which would have been out around this. Well, certainly around the time.
There's actually two different covers for this release. We have this one was the first release, and there's one that just has the Vegas High Stakes name, which you can see on the screen right now.
Okay, awesome. So a little bit of background, and it'll be short on the cast, because our two strippers, Janine Martin, aka Jennifer Martin, Lust and Desire are the character names. She was just in this, nothing else. Might have been just a stripper. Samantha Kassler, she plays Desire. Janine Martin plays Lust. So Samantha Kassler, also one and done, just this. So wish I had more background on them. I'm assuming might have been legit strippers.
I wonder if they had alternate names in other film industries too.
That is entirely possible, because of course Gary Graber Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, look at the rest of the cast. I just assumed.
Yes, on the male side of things, which we don't highlight as much in these movies, but we do get legendary adult film actors Mike Horner, who plays Uncle Earl, and we get TT Boy under his name Philip Rivera, who plays Johnny.
Now, couldn't we at least, gave us something with two T's? give us, give us the wink and the nod. Give us like Thomas. Oh, that's Tom Bryan. Tom. Well, he's actually a TT. Actually, Thomas something. I don't know.
TT Boy, yes. No, we don't have. I don't know. Could we even really like fairly review a Tom Byron movie at this point? Since he kind of XPW family, I don't know how that would work. We'd have to be.
Well, I've
We'd
never seen. I mean, I mean, most of the movies Tom Byron's been in that I've seen, I've enjoyed. I don't know. I don't think we get a bad review.
There you go. There you
There
go.
might be a couple we can't review anymore, but other than that,
Yes, for definitely can't review those. That'd be consequences beyond YouTube. But yeah, so Mike Horner plays Uncle Earl. He's kind of a degenerate moocher who lives in the desert that they come across, and his family, his nephews, I believe they were. And Mike Horner's actually pretty funny. This one is essentially just a softcore exploitation film. I think a lot of the laughs really do come from Mike Horner as Uncle Earl. There's a little bit of scatological humor thrown in there a bit, but for the most part, I'm going to be honest. This movie is just a highlight for tits, and they are traditional hot girls, big boobs.
I'd say they're traditional '90s tits.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
well,
traditional '90s titties.
you didn't specify an era. Tits are different in different eras, Dan. Just
I
saying.
think they were big tits. I don't know if I could distinguish
You,
those tits versus today's tits necessarily.
they have that '90s artificial look. It's pretty
Yeah,
obvious.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
still silicone based.
Definitely silicone based.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that takes me back to the '90s.
There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So there's little bits of humor here and there. I mean, the two bumbling gangsters that are chasing after them pick up some sexy hitchhikers who, spoiler alert, they pork, and then they end up stealing their car. So there's kind of a lot of goofy humor going on as the two strippers, Lust and Desire, who fleed, are trying to adapt to life at Uncle Earl's trailer park in the middle of the desert, and these gangsters are en route. For the most part, this is just a couple minor gags in between sex scenes. Like I said, these two lovely ladies find plenty of time to engage in lesbian and boy girl antics throughout the film. I don't think anybody's going to complain. Everybody's beautiful in this one because a lot of the Gary Graver stuff like this, some of the softcore stuff he did, usually with the Vegas theme, very, very low budget. And when I say low budget even compared to other softcore flicks of that era. There wasn't a whole lot of money behind these things, but it works. I think everybody was very good. The two lead actresses, you can tell, not professional actresses, but they do fine. I think honestly the male actors do a little bit better job, but once again, at that time you had to have acting skills. Mike Horner goes back a ways, and yeah, those guys had to be actors. As far as anything else goes. It's a very basic plot line. It's quick, it's cheap, some good looking girls. I don't have a lot else to say about it. Uh, will it kill you if you miss it? No, because you probably don't know who these girls are anyways, like you said. That there's no real info there. But I enjoyed it. If you're a Mike Horner fan and want to see him in a more mainstream production where he gets to do a little bit more acting and comedy, might be worth you checking out. What did you think, Ted?
Yeah, it's exactly what I expect from a porn director. You got TT Boy in there. It's like the level of production I was expecting, but that's kind of what I was cool with that. You're right. There's not a lot of story. It's so if you want to see some tits in Vegas, it's a good time. I mean, it's we don't get stuff like this anymore. I know we say it a lot when we're hitting some of this old school stuff, but I
I
mean,
I appreciate the two girls, as you would just pull over somewhere to a random like little stream and just start soaping each other up and getting
and makes those road trips fly by. Um, yeah, it is. I mean, it's yeah. Is anyone to watch this and mistake it for some accurate portrayal of young women? Probably not, but I think some. I don't want to say horny teenagers because we're not that anymore. But I mean, there is fun to be had. Um, but yeah, it's almost like well acted porn without the porn. So it's like you have to be able to have fun with this stuff, and I think this one, if you can, it's worth a watch. But like Dan said, you're not gonna, it's not gonna be the end of the world if you don't. But yeah, this one is fun, and you can find the DVD really cheap, either version. So
Yeah, I know that was one of the ones that was still readily available, be it used or new. It,
yeah,
like I said, there wasn't much put into a movie here, but there's a lot of boobs. I don't know that this one has ever had any other version. I don't think it's edited or anything, as far as I can remember. I don't think I ever had this on VHS. So
if you've seen the cover, you'll definitely recognize it, the VHS cover.
yeah, yeah, I can't remember. I know I've seen this before, but I was trying to place it and I
It was
just
probably on like the movie channel
that's kind of what I was thinking too.
because it's
Yeah,
a little
because
too it's a little bit below the Cinemax bar of the era. So
we're kind of a couple years away at this point from seduction cinema, the Misty Mundy era, and the heavy influx of Jim Wynorski and Fred Olen Ray stuff. We're kind of like right at the beginnings of that. So
that's a whole nother discussion, that just popped in my brain. Did that stuff kind of lead to the downfall, though? That's something we should really have a discussion
see,
about.
I would put that stuff above this.
But again, this is a whole
Yeah.
conversation.
We've
But
not we've not tackled seduction cinema, and I do want to at some point.
yes, I give you shit, but I am open to it. I just I think it's going to be too repetitive for me. I think it's going to be a lot of me wanting to fast forward
I
from what I
think
remember.
I think your mind might change.
Well,
Probably a little more storyline driven.
the biggest thing about it, and we'll save it for that. But those are a couple conversations I'd like to have. So
Yeah,
next time
yeah.
we do some more late, later Wynorski will or Fred Olen Ray, we'll have that conversation. Doesn't really work for what we're talking about.
And the Misty
So
Mundy era.
yes, Dan. Well,
The goddess, Ted. The goddess. Although I'm probably just as much a Darian Kane guy, but anyways.
see, I think we'll come to that when we get there.
We'll have fights over softcore erotica. All right. So what do we rate this one? I'm a 2.5. I can't really go higher. But I had a decent enough time watching it. It doesn't have any real replay value though.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I'm also a 2.5 on this one.
Yeah.
Which is average, for me.
If
I
you're a,
would
if you're a
rewatch it again.
hardcore boob lover, you might find even more.
Yeah. But it was a nice throwback because titties don't look like they did in the '90s anymore. At least the fake
Yeah.
ones. So it is a
Throwback
throwback
titties. A throwback to the titties of yore.
of my
Uh,
youth. These titties are 27 years old now in here. 27 years young, older. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. So up next, we have the 2007 film from writer director John Birmingham, Crazy Animal. So in Crazy Animal, after high school, Jen discovers that she was drugged and assaulted by her ex-boyfriend, now turned frat boy. Jen plots a revenge with the scheme using her sexy girlfriends to lure the attackers to the frat house friends for a wild spring break weekend in a summer house on the coast. To their dismay, the frat boys discover they're to be held captive by an 80s hair metal guitarist in his shack in the woods and forced to listen to his epic ballads. Starring Ron Jeremy with an appearance by Lloyd Kaufman. Okay. So this is an oddball movie.
Oh, I'll tell you, Dan, because as I've been doing the Troma 365, I've been watching some stuff I don't remember, haven't seen, and we've been talking about this much Troma show. We kind of had a different one planned, but after I saw this one, I was like, I think we should highlight it, which is
Yeah,
why this one weird, yeah, crazy.
there you go.
So, what did you think?
Okay, so you're combining a lot of things here that don't really go together traditionally. I'll talk about the very beginning first. So it opens 16 years in the past, and we see Ron Jeremy, who's working out, which alone is very odd.
And he teaches us the greatest life lesson I've ever learned too. I'll tell you when you after you talk about this part.
I think they probably paid him in roofies is what I would imagine. So he while exercising, he collapses
There's
and
the life lesson.
and his son Ricky calls the ambulance, but he gives him a father son talk about finding true love at all costs before he dies. Although he reappears as a force ghost throughout the film.
If there was not a more heart wrenching death scene that I've ever seen, it might have been this one.
Yeah, yeah. I think when Ron goes, it'll just be like a Viking funeral sort of thing, just shoving him out to sea, shooting the flame and arrow. But yeah. So, anyways, this was before he got called out for a lot of things. But so we pick up with the character Jeff Wood, Jeff Wood is his name, who's being tortured in flashback by his dad, Lloyd Kaufman, who basically just gives this typical Lloyd Kaufman speech about how it's okay for him to kill and cornhole and all the all of this good stuff. Just textbook Lloyd. That part was funny. He also pops up as a force ghost. So those were the highlights for me. Lloyd Kaufman and Ron Jeremy.
I have to argue that was textbook Lloyd because Lloyd's not generally like an angry
Fire
person.
and brimstone, but the humor's
Yeah.
there is what I mean.
I get that. Yeah, okay. I'll go with that. But yeah, that's the I thought like he normally, yeah, it's a lot more jovial and fun. So.
Yeah, that's true. He's not, the really.
Unless you watch behind the scenes and he's literally screaming his brains out. But it wasn't quite that level either. So this was
He basically loves murder and sodomy in this movie. That's like his mantra, murder and sodomy. So those random flashbacks and force ghost appearances are kind of funny. But at the end of the day, so this movie functions like a really cheap sex comedy for the most part, in terms of the tone, the humor. But it's also got an at least semi-serious I spit on your grave type revenge story to it that is unique. I don't know if I've seen anybody do anything quite like this movie. but it doesn't really work. You know, when you've got a glam rocker at one point who I believe was supposed to be, I don't know if he was shitting on the guy or trying to get him to toss his salad or what, when he's just going, "Time to get gay." It's like, how am I supposed to take this assault storyline, which is not played for laughs, and the middle of all this ridiculousness, it just doesn't blend. There's even a flashback of the one character thinking that, you know, his Ricky, I think, his true love, his goth girlfriend, uh, who they have this music romance montage, but then she she unalived over being assaulted, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, it is this trying to do like tits and fart jokes
You
mixed
know
with
what?
a message? Because it's
You
not
know what?
working.
See, I disagree. Everything about this worked for me. The fact it's all over the place. It
Yeah, I
and
don't know.
and it feels like it comes out of it, and this is when it'll click why I loved it so much. Like that stuff in that segment reminded me of something out of an old school episode of XPW TV. It was just like that kind of, it felt like it was like lived in a world with the homeless Jimmy story. That's what it felt like to me.
Jimmy Goes to College,
Yes, it like in that whole it
which
had
is
that tone.
not his favorite.
Oh
So,
no, it's not. He does not. He does not. I think he might be turning on to it a little bit more. I think it's more of his performance thing. It
mhm.
was rushed. He felt, but there you
Yeah,
go. There's some insight. Um, but yeah, I like that. It's just like it's we're throwing everything. It's all over the place. It's stuff that shouldn't go together. It just made it for me. It made it an incredible time.
there's different points where it feels like it's just cobbled together from other things. There's Brink Steven pops up as a kind of furry who died of cancer, I believe. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? It's not, I don't know, it's not hitting me. I get it's random, it's weird, but I don't know. I don't know if you
You're gonna
could
have a
make
hard time with Giuseppe's films. I'm just warning you now.
I some of the clips you've showed me, I'm not really expecting a movie out of that. So
Oh, there's a movie.
uh but I don't know. I don't know.
I just like the
It's also a slasher too. It's a certain point. It's very it just doesn't come together.
see, I like that it's all over the place, and I liked all the different elements. And just the
Yeah.
fucking like when we see, I don't want to give it away. Our lead douchebag when we get the spoiler about when we find out about what
The
happened to
assault.
someone's girlfriend. I just
Yeah.
it's just see, I was laughing at the things you're probably not supposed to, but that's what made it so fun for me.
I have a fucked up sense of humor. It's not like this movie didn't offend me or anything. It's just I don't it just doesn't work.
See,
I wish
it
it
did for
did.
me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of wonder too when that Brink Stevens thing was shot because I mean, granted, it's 2007, but she looked much younger, so I'm not sure what was going on.
That 100% felt shoehorned in.
Yeah, yeah,
Like at least the Lloyd stuff made sense and the Ron stuff made sense. Like you
yeah,
could have like the Ron stuff you had to have, but like the Lloyd stuff you could have, but it worked either way. Those two segments worked in it.
I have no background info on this film. Again, the two today are very obscure. It almost felt like maybe they were shooting one thing and then something changed along the way. I don't know exactly. It's not a Troma patchwork movie where they're like dubbing in their own shit or anything. Although I suppose maybe
There is a
Lloyd
piece of
thought
trivia
so.
information I do have.
Oh yeah,
And that was Andy Dick was personally approached by the director to make a cameo role, but he had to turn it down due to the union. Um,
that's not a problem for Andy Dick anymore. That I'm pretty sure for. Ugh.
and
Yeah,
it's well, this is probably they probably lucked out on this one. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's kind of 50-50. They originally had Don Vito from Viva La Bam in talks to make the cameo appearance before Ron Jeremy took the spot. At least you got the legacy of Ron Jeremy, not just the other parts.
Thank God we didn't cast a pervert.
We got some more. David Lee Roth, Jack Black, Pauly Shore, and Corey Feldman's agents all turned down the cameo roles.
Well, no shit.
The script was sent to Glenn Danzig via his agent's request, but Glenn
I think this is
refused to make a
all
cameo.
bullshit. I think this is all bullshit. I sense. Although, hey, you never know if you don't ask. So
You know what? The fact that they're all got turned down by probably means they are true.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, what do you rate this one, Todd?
I'm a 3 because I do like it enough. It is all over the place, but I mean the tone is set from that opening scene. Like, I mean, Ron Jeremy, his acting, the tone is set. If that turns you off, you're not gonna like the movie.
See, I enjoyed the Ron Jeremy and the Lloyd Kaufman stuff, but not a lot else. There is a little bit of nudity, the Russian girls, nothing too excessive, but there's at least some skin too. So, but it's a one-time watch for me. Not sorry that I watched it, because again, it's blending things that generally don't go together, and they don't. But
I 100% you're one.
I'm a 1. Yes,
I 100% think they watched Hostel at some point. Like, I want to do the tone shift, and it did, and they didn't hit it right.
Yeah, it works better in Hostel. It makes sense.
Well, there's only 2 tones in Hostel. There's a few in this one,
yeah.
And you also switch back and forth in this one.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It doesn't matter. I have fun with it. I'm a 3. So Dan's a 1. There you go. I do know my Troma scale runs high. But I did have a lot of fun with this one.
Well, there you go. As you can see, just because it's Troma, it's not going to get necessarily always get glowing reviews. But there you have it. 2 movies that there's very little out there about. So on that note, be sure to join our free Discord, patreon.com/fleshwoundfeatures, where you can check out all our Femme Fatales reviews up there right now. And
yeah, all of them are out. Everyone.
And there's a lot more coming, so be sure to check that out. We appreciate all your support. And on that note, goodbye and come again.
Good evening.